Hare Krishna. Those universes, those molecules, then there is Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva for each of those universes. Separate creator, preserver, and destructor for each of those universes. And this Vishnu, what's his name? Yeah, Garbhodakasai Vishnu. Yes, exactly. So in a universe, in a Brahmanda is basically in a shape of an egg. Basically, that's why it's called Anda, Brahmanda. So it is in a shape of an egg, and the bottom part is like full with water. And on top of that water, yeah, there lies, who lies there at the bottom in the water? Who lies there? What's the name of the snake? Yeah, Anantashesh. And who sleeps on Anantashesh? Yeah, you have to be a little more particular now. We have started naming Vishnus here. Yeah, Garbhodak Sai Vishnu. So from Garbhodak Sai Vishnu comes, yeah, of course, Shirodak Sai Vishnu. Yeah. So from the navel of the Vishnu who is lying there, Garbhodak Sai Vishnu, there's a lotus stem and then there's a lotus flower that comes there, and from there comes Brahma. So basically that's how Brahma is born. So the story goes, not story, yeah. The pastime goes like this: when Brahma came into existence, when he was born, he could see nothing, like he was just born, like there was no creation. Just imagine yourself, you're just put in a, I don't know, very dark room, or like an endless room, and it's just pitch black. You don't know what to do, and all you see is you're just sitting on a flower. What would you do? What's your first thought? Yeah, ask what to do. Yes, that's what Brahma also did. So basically, when Brahma came into existence, then the first thing he had was curiosity. He's like, who am I? Why have I come? Like, what I'm supposed to do? What's my purpose? So basically, he had a lot of questions, and then all he had was one reference. That his starting point was he was sitting on a lotus flower, and then he just saw, where is this lotus flower is coming from? So basically, it was in the water, and then yeah, he just went inside the water, and then he started tracing the stem where it is coming from. Yeah, everyone have seen how the lotus stem is. I mean, basically it's from the bed, and then there's a long stem, and then there's a flower. So basically he started tracing back the stem to see where that stem is coming from, what is the origin of that. And then yeah, he started searching, and we are speaking of Brahma here. Like, can you imagine like the intelligence of Brahma, like who created this entire universe? So he spent almost like 1 millennium searching for it, and at the end of that 1 millennium, what did he find? Any guesses? Vishnu? Any other guesses? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so basically there was no use after searching for like 1 millennium years. There was literally nothing he could understand. Like, he couldn't gather any information. So basically, where his hunt started, it came back to square one. Basically, he never began with the hunt, kind of. And then after like 1 millennium, there's always the cycle of creation and destruction, and that destruction phase already started. And then he went back onto the lotus, and basically when the destruction, devastation happens, the water that is there in the universe, the bottom of the universe, it starts to become very violent. There's a lot of waves and things like that. So that started happening, and then so he sat on the flower, and then he could feel those oceanic waves disturbances on that flower. And then so basically he tried with his mental capacity to search for all these things, so it didn't work out. So what he did was he just sat in meditation on Supreme Lord for almost like 100 years of Brahma. And does anyone know what is the number of 100 years of Brahma? It's an insane amount of years when compared to human years. So just to give you an idea, like one day of Brahma, I'm not talking about 1 year, 1 month, 1 week, or 100 years. So you can do the math. One day of Brahma is equivalent to 4,300,000 human years. That's one day of Brahma. So you can multiply 1 into 365 into 100. So that's so many years that he spent in meditation. And after that, like finally, the Supreme Lord Vishnu, Garbhodak Sai Vishnu, he appeared in his heart. So after that meditation, so what here Prabhupada quotes as especially highlights is that we can try to search God with our mental capacity, but how much ever you do, you can't achieve Lord. Like you can't see Lord. You can only see Lord only when He reveals Himself. So basically, Brahma tried everything. Like he tried searching by himself, he tried meditating, and after all his penances and his determination and everything, then Lord was pleased with his service. So basically, that's when the Lord appeared to him in his heart. And also, Prabhupada highlights here is like you can't see the Lord with the material eyes. So you need to have that love, that spiritual eyes to see the Lord. So that's like one takeaway lesson that many people think that yeah, I can find God through science, or I can maybe see God with my own eyes, or some people challenge, like ask God to come in front of me, like I don't see him, then he doesn't exist. No, even if he is existing, he is existing, not if he is existing. He is existing in every atom as no, Paramatma is in everyone. Yeah, of course, Paramatma in a way. But as which Vishnu? The last part of the puzzle. Khanaka Sai Vishnu was the first Vishnu. Yeah, Kshirodaka Sai Vishnu. So he is there in every atom. Vishnu is there in every atom. So basically, he is there among us here, everywhere. But we don't have the capability to see that, to see him. But when we try to practice devotional service, when we start performing loving devotional service, when we start to increase that love for Krishna, that's when we also start to see the presence of Lord. But we'll see that a bit later. So what happens next in the part of story is basically once he saw Vishnu in his heart, then he started offering prayers uh, to Vishnu. So before that, Maitreya Muni is here describing to Vidura like what was the appearance of Vishnu when he appeared in the heart of Brahmaji. So he talks many verses. He talks about how beautifully he is lying on Anantashesh, and like on Anantashesh was like a white lotus bed on which Vishnu was lying, and he starts off with his feet, like how his soft lotus feet is there, and then how it is like the shelter of all devotees for all the souls. Then he moves on to his waist, like his waist is very slim and slender, and he's wearing like an yellow garment which resembles like the uh, like the kadamba flower. Like kadamba flower has like a pollen kind of a thing, so it resembles to that color, the saffron, kind of a saffronish color, but it's like a yellowish dhoti that he's wearing. Then he moves on to the chest, like how he has Shivatsava impression on his chest, and all the garlands and jewelry that he's wearing, and his arms are like slender and slim. And he moves on to his beautiful face, and how beautiful Vishnu is looking, and he's just like having like a gentle smile on his face. So he describes this whole thing, like how wonderful he was looking. And moving on, like after he describes that, and then he talks about what prayers did Brahma offer to Lord Vishnu once he saw them. So again, Brahma started off with praising the Lord, like how wonderful the Lord is seeing, is appearing, and then only how through devotion to service that the Lord can be seen. Like all these things he just talks about, he just praises the Lord. And like later on he moves on to say that, like how these people are like engrossed in the material activities. So material activities are any activities that we do generally in this world that does not have any relation to Vishnu or Krishna. So any other activities that we perform apart from the spiritual activities can be categorized as material activities. And of course, even in Gita also, Krishna talks about this, that how material activities are actually binding people. So like, for if you just give an example, yeah, you work hard, then you say buy a good car or buy a house, then it is creating more attachment to that car or that house. So that's how it is bonding jivas, the souls, to this material world, these material things. And all these and that these kind of attachments leads to sufferings. Like of course, like if you have a car or something, so say someone comes and just hits your car or something, then your car is damaged, then you are in anxiety, then you are depressed, then you are like frustrated, then it causes suffering basically. So that's how these material activities somehow leads to sufferings. And he says that Vishnu is the only deliverer or of these sufferings. Then basically after all these prayers, now comes like a bit interesting part, where Brahma starts to pray for himself, because now he has meditated for like 100 years, and then finally he has got that revelation in his heart. He saw who is Vishnu, and then he understood what he is supposed to do. So basically now he is aware that okay, now he has to create these universes. So based on this, he starts praying to Krishna, I mean to Vishnu. So basically first thing he asks is to give him that empowerment. Like although he had that power to create those universes, I mean like he is part of this universe, like to create all the planets within the universe, but still the first thing he asks is to empower him to start with this creation. And basically the second most important thing that he asks is basically that when he is engaged in this creation of this universe, all the planets, all the living entities, basically whatever you see, whatever uh, you see or you don't see within the part of universe is created by Brahma. And he asks this one particular thing, that when he is engaged in doing these activities, he should be free from false prestige. Why? Because when you're doing something, you always think that, yeah, I created this. There is a sense of I. That creates a false prestige, false ego, that I am the creator. But Brahma already knew this very fundamental fact, that he is not the original creator. Original creator is basically is Vishnu, is Krishna. And before this part in Srimad Bhagavatam, in the previous chapters also, there is a lot of information on how Mahavishnu creates all these universes, and how the basic fundamental elements of this universe come into being, like the Pancha Mahabhutas, then there is mind, intelligent ego, then there is the modes of nature, that is goodness, passion, and ignorance. So there are all these details of how these elements of the universe come into being. And what Brahma had to do as an engineer is he had to take all these elements and then fabricate it to make all these planets and like a working system. So that was the role of Brahma, to create all these things. So he had the raw materials, but he didn't create those raw materials. The raw materials were given to him. So technically speaking, he is not the actual creator of these. So he knew that for the fact, but he was already concerned that in this process of creating these things, it's like, he will have this false sense of creatorship, that I created this. To just give an example to our level, we are talking about Brahma and universe in those level, high level. Maybe it's a bit difficult to relate to us, but if we can relate to ourselves, like how we try to get this false sense of prestige. To give a very good example, we have raw materials: rice, vegetable, spices, everything. But when we put everything together in a pot and cook, a nice khichdi comes out of it. And when someone eats that, they start praising. Then what do you think? What do you think naturally? In generic, you don't have to give an ideal answer. What is the most practical thing someone would think?
The one who cooked it.
Yeah.
Praise the one.
Yeah. So one who cooked it, what will he think? He or she? Happy? More?
Proud.
Yeah, exactly. Even though if it is not that expressive in a subtle way, inside he will start feeling proud that, oh, I created this beautiful khichdi, that they are very happy. Like, what I'm trying to say? I mean, I'm talking in this small tiny details. Like, we don't observe this happens throughout our day. Throughout, it could be cooking, or it could be some works that we did in office, or it could be anything. Like maybe we painted it, or made a paint, or or maybe we played an instrument or anything. But all these things subtly boosts the ego within. It might not be that apparent, or it might not be that evident in front, but subtly it's just feeding the ego that I did this. It's creating the sense of ownership. And this is what Brahma is afraid of. Although he knows that Krishna is Vishnu is the supreme creator, still he is afraid that maybe he will acquire this kind of thing. So basically, if you try to see in our context, when we create all this, like when we make a beautiful khichdi, like when we cook a beautiful khichdi, when someone praises it, then basically, ideally what we should be thinking is, yes, I didn't create those raw materials. Rice was there, vegetables were there, dal was there, spices they were all given to me. I just put everything together and then I just cooked it. So basically, that's what Brahma is trying to do here. He had the raw materials and is putting everything together to make Earth, Jupiter, and all these different planetary systems, and all these working of nature, rain, soil, everything. So that was his consciousness, that he should not come into that false prestige, and that's what he's praying to Vishnu, that I should not start thinking that I am the creator, I am the cause of all these things, because the actual cause of all causes is Vishnu. So yeah, just to read out. So I have just taken some texts from the purport of all these verses, and Prabhupada says here, is foolish men want to take credit for all creations made by them, but intelligent persons know know very well that not a blade of grass can move without the will of the Lord. So that's what intelligent people think, that without Lord's consent, without the Lord's potency, not even a blade of grass can move. So basically he moves on to say, thus all the credit for all wonderful creations must go to him. Then he moves on to the next prayer in the next verse, that he says he will be engaged in like manifesting all these diverse energies of this universe and make this cosmic creation. And he says that in this process, he prays to Vishnu that let me not be deviated from the vibrations of the Vedic hymns. So basically, the source of all these things comes from Om, and all the Vedas come into uh, manifestation, and all the Vedas speak of just one thing. It speaks of Lord Hari, and how Hari is the cause of all causes, and all the information is there. So basically what he's trying to say is, I don't want to lose myself of this knowledge that you are the actual cause of all causes. And again, if I have to just pick some nice uh, lines from the purport, here Prabhupada is telling that every person is engaged in the transcendental loving service of the Lord in this material world is prone to so many material activities, and these material activities can be cause of his fall down. And fall down in the sense here is like it can start uh, give him the impression that yeah, he is the cause of that, and then he is the owner of that, and so on things, so and so kind of things. So basically he says if no one is strong enough to protect himself against the onslaught of the material affection, the bondage, he may be diverted from the spiritual energy. So this is a warning for one and all in the spiritual advancement of life. Unless one is sufficiently protected by the Lord, he may fall down from his spiritual position. And what is a spiritual position? Like every person has to realize his spiritual position as he is the servant of the Lord. So basically, even Brahma is the servant of the Lord because he has the service to create the universe. So he is engaged in some sort of service. So each and every living being, each and every jiva has the purpose to serve the Lord. And here when I say as a servant to a Lord, it's not like a master slave kind of a relationship. It's more like a loving relationship, like how a mother serves the child, and like maybe a husband serves the wife and wife serves the husband. So it's basically acts of service, and you do it out of love, and the other person also reciprocates in the same way. It's not like yeah, one person is just taking service and the other person is just giving service, but Krishna has this unique relationship with each and every one. And that is the spiritual position of every jiva, like to be the servant of the Lord. And when you do it out of love, when you offer that service out of love as a servant, then basically Krishna reciprocates, and that's what we see, which Rohit Prabhu just mentioned earlier, the for the song of Partha Sarathi, and how Krishna became the chariot driver of Arjuna. So basically, Krishna took like a servant kind of a position for Arjuna. So basically, a king is a master and the chariot driver is the servant. So basically, wherever the king says, the chariot driver has to go that way. So basically, that's what Krishna does here. Like, although he is the master of the universe, but because of this servant, loving servant relationship, he reciprocates, like he becomes that servant to his devotees. And we see in many pastimes like this, and I just wanted to give that one example. Then he gives all these prayers, and then Maitreya Muni says he offered all these prayers, and Brahma was basically anxious and he was depressed. Like he was very anxious that oh, I have to start creating this, but if I start creating this universe, then yeah, I will lose this essence, that I will start to have false prestige that I am the master, that I will lose my spiritual position and that knowledge that oh, I'm actually the servant, that I have to give service to the Lord. So he was very anxious, like what should I do? I am given this duty to create, but if I do this, then I'm scared that I will be lost in this illusion. So seeing this, then when Brahma offered these prayers to Vishnu, then Vishnu starts his therapy session. So he starts giving his spiritual reassurance to Brahma, and that's a very beautiful segment of this chapter. Vishnu starts giving reassurance to Brahma. Yeah, and we will talk about this. So the first thing the Lord said was, "Don't be anxious and depressed." So I want to pick up some lines from the purport, which really I found it really interesting, and I could connect to more. So Prabhupada here in one of the purports, he says, any person authorized by either the Lord or by his bona fide representative is already blessed, as is the work entrusted to him. Of course, the person entrusted by such a responsibility should always be aware of his incapability and must always look for the mercy of the Lord for the successful execution of his duty. One should not be puffed up because he is entrusted with certain executive work. Fortunate is he who is so entrusted, and if he is always fixed in the sense of being subordinate to the will of the Supreme, he is sure to come out successfully in the discharge of his work. So basically, that's what Prabhupada here is telling, that every one of us have duties, and the duties are of two categories. One is, what do you say duties in Sanskrit? What is the term that's used? Kartavya, more specific? Yeah, dharma. And every living entity has basically two dharmas. First one is basically the swadharma, and second thing is basically sanatana dharma. Now, swadharma is basically all the duties, the dharma that one has to fulfill in this material world as a son, as a daughter, as a husband, wife, as an employee, or as a citizen, if you see in terms of nationality, or as a good human being, not say pollute nature or anything. So that is a swadharma. But there is the other part of dharma, which is basically sanatan dharma. And Sanatan Dharma is basically that eternal duty of every jiva to connect with the Lord. So you, as a part and parcel of the Lord, as a soul, you have a relationship with Hare, with Vishnu, with Krishna. And this duty talks about re-establishing that relationship. Like every one of us have forgotten that we have a relationship. We have like a best friend next to us, inside us, as Paramatma, guiding us as a guru. But we always forget that Krishna is always within us. But so that is basically the reawakening of that relationship, that I have a personal relationship with the Lord. And each of us have our own personal relationship with the Lord. Like, that's what we see in the past time. Someone can be a friend, someone can be like a guru, someone can be like a parent, like, in the mode of Yashoda Mai or Nanda Maharaj or, Devaki, that they see the Lord as their son, the loving son. And someone have like a best friend, or someone will have like a conjugal love, like the gopis have, and that's like the highest form of relationship for love. So that's what here Prabhupada is talking about, that everyone should be looking for that mercy. So when we are doing two duties, be it swadharma, be it sanatan dharma, when we are doing these duties, so we should be always thinking that, yeah, we need the mercy of the Lord to do these duties as a part of swadharma or as a part of sanatan dharma. So next up, then one of the verse, I'm just reading the translations. So here it says, Brahma, situate yourself in penance and meditation and follow the principles of knowledge to receive my favor. So this is Vishnu telling Brahma. By these actions, you will be able to understand everything from within your heart. So another segment from the purport of that verse is, the mercy of the Lord bestows upon a particular person engaged in executive responsible work onto him is beyond imagination. But his mercy is received due to our penance and perseverance in executing devotional service. So this is what basically Brahma did. So what Prabhupada is telling here, like what Vishnu said is, of course you will get the mercy because you have situated yourself in penance and meditation. That means like he is persistent, and he had taken over some austerity, some penances, some a bit of discomfort in terms of meditation. Brahma sat down for like 100 years and just meditated, his 100 years, not our 100 years, and then meditated on Supreme Lord. So that's when Supreme Lord was impressed, or he was delighted, he was satisfied. So that's when he revealed himself. So that's what Prabhupada is telling here, that of course we will get all the blessings from the Lord and he will empower us. What Brahma was asking was that empowerment. So if we are given some service, some duty, and we think that, oh, I won't be able to do it and all these things, and then we ask Lord to give us the strength. But that strength, that mercy comes only when we also put our end of efforts. And this is also a very crux uh, takeaway philosophy of Damodar Leela. When Yashodamai was trying to bind Krishna, she was not able to bind Krishna to the wooden motor. The rope was always falling short of that. But she kept trying, she kept trying to bind Krishna. And looking at that perseverance, looking at that the penance, that effort that she took, that she didn't give up, she kept trying, that melted the heart of Krishna. And that's when finally he decided, okay, fine, let me just get myself bound by her love. And that's when the rope automatically became long enough to tie the knot. So that's what here also Prabhupada is telling, that we need to have that we have to undergo that little discomfort, that penance, to do some service, to do our duties, and also to do it with perseverance. And that will attract that mercy, that blessings of the Lord, and that will empower us to do whatever we are interested to do. Then moving ahead, Vishnu says that you will see me in all living entities as well as all over the universe, just as fire is situated in the wood. Only in that state of transcendental vision you will be able to free from all kinds of illusion. So that's what Brahma here prayed, that he should not forget this eternal relationship that he has with the Lord, with Vishnu. And we just talked about some time back, like we can see Vishnu in every atom, in every living being. That's what Vishnu is also telling, that you will see me in all living entities as well as all over the universe. So basically every living entity has Paramatma in them. So you have, I have, every one of us here has Paramatma in them, not just human beings. Like even if you see any insect, like an ant or a dog or an elephant, any living being, even plants have Paramatma in them. And not just living entities, but also non-living entities like pillar or atoms, whatever you see, everywhere Vishnu is present. And that is his omnipotency basically. And here Vishnu is giving a very classic example, like just as fire is situated in wood. So if you see wood, you don't see fire in it. You don't see fire as such, and you don't actually feel fire as such, but it has the fire, it has the capacity to ignite, and it has the capacity to produce that fire. So fire is contained within it. And also if you see another example here, is like they say the fire of digestion. Like if you have read a little bit of Ayurveda and everything, so they talk about how the digest, it's also there in Gita, where Krishna says that he is that fire, that Agni within us, which helps to digest the food that we eat and give us the nutrition that we need, the nourishment that we need. So just like different types of wood are there, but all the wood can catch fire. So fire is the same thing. Whether you ignite like maybe one type of wood, and then if you ignite another type of wood, the fire is the same. The fire has the same qualities, the same heat, the same warmth, the same light. The fire is the same. So basically that's how Vishnu is telling here, is that although if you see different types of bodies, but I am same. Like as Paramatma, I am living in each and every living being, and I am same basically. And I'm the part and they are the part and parcel of them, of him. So moving on, so he says that the next verse he says, you are the original Rishi, and because your mind is always fixed on me, even though you will be engaged in generating various progeny, the vicious mode of passion, you will never encroach, the passion will never encroach upon you. So basically, he's giving that assurance that, yeah, when you start creating all these things, it's basically in the mode of passion. So there are three modes of nature. One is the sattva, that is mode of goodness. Then there is rajas, the mode of passion, and then there is tamas, the mode of ignorance. So to create something, to work, you need to have some passion. Otherwise, you can't create or you can't do some work. So Brahma here is basically is engaged in passion because he has to create this universe, all the planets and everything. So he's Vishnu is giving that assurance that because you have me always, like his mind is always fixed in me, that is me in the sense here Vishnu is always fixed in Vishnu, this mode of passion does not encroach upon him, that he does not lose his sense. And there is actually uh, an irony, like if someone knows the pastime of Brahma Vimohan Leela, where Brahma gets bewildered and loses what Krishna is actually, like loses the sense of or the knowledge of who Krishna is actually is. So already Vishnu is giving him the assurance that he will not lose himself, he will not forget what is his relationship. But still in that pastime we see that Brahma completely forgets who Krishna is, and then he, yeah, tries to pull off a stunt by kidnapping all the gopas, and it's a beautiful pastime on its own. But Prabhupada here highlights that, how can pure devotees can still be bewildered, like even Arjuna in the battlefield, like Arjuna is a very pure devotee, so pure devotees are already in that consciousness, but how are they still bewildered? So he says, Prabhupada says here in the purport that this bewilderment is coming from the internal potency. So it's like yoga maya. So I'm going a bit more technical because that's the topic for the day. But this bewilderment ultimately is to push oneself closer to Vishnu or Krishna. So it's not to put them down, or it's not to humiliate them or something, but all this bewilderment, these pastimes that we see, is to make them realize, to make them feel more closer to Krishna or Vishnu. So that is the purpose of all these things. Then I would like to skip few verses because we are running out of time. So just getting to the end part of this reassurance episode of Vishnu talking to Brahma, I'll just read some translation of the ending verses. It's very nice. So here Vishnu says, I am very much pleased by your description of me in terms of my transcendental qualities, which appear mundane to mundaners. I grant you all benedictions in your desire to glorify all the planets by your activities. The next verse, being any human being who prays like Brahma and who thus worships me shall be very soon be blessed with fulfillment of all his desires. For I am the Lord of benediction. So here Vishnu is telling that anyone who prays like Brahma, like we started off with what Brahma did. Like anyone can just recap where Brahma started. Yeah. And then when he started praying for Vishnu, what did he start with? No, I mean, that is his hunt. I'm just talking about when he starts to express his prayers. What did he start with? So basically, Brahma started with glorifying the Lord. And then he said, what are the different innumerable potencies that Lord has? Then he glorified his appearance, how beautiful he looked. Then onwards, he started saying that, yeah, he has been entrusted to create these things. Then finally, he ended up praying what he needed. That is, he needed some reassurance that he would be still safe and he would be empowered and he would not be driven in false prestige, all these things. So basically, also, uh, I've heard this from my guru, His Holiness Sachinanda Maharaj, that when we pray to Lord, there are actually these 4 steps, which is exactly what Brahma is trying to do here. So it's the first step is basically when we try to pray to the Lord. Of course, we are all taught that you come in front of the Lord, just fold your hands, and we just start directly asking what we want. I want this job. I want that. I want a house. I want a car, or I want promotion, or whatever, or I want good health. So we directly jump on to asking what we want. Of course, there's nothing wrong in asking what we want. Of course, it's much better than not asking Lord. At least you're coming to the Lord and asking what you want. But there is a process to it. Like, technically, the highest successful rate is if you like follow this process. The first thing is you need to glorify the Lord. Like, you need to, of course, you can take the help of different acharyas. They have crafted beautiful bhajans, beautiful prayers to glorify the Lord. You don't have, of course, you are you can feel free to come up with something creative that you can compose in your own words. But if not, you can have, there are so many bhajans, so many kirtans, there are so many verses like this composed by a lot of devotees. Can anyone name 1 or 2 from Bhagavatam? Glorifying the Lord, prayers. Come on, it's very common, very famous. Yeah, yeah. What's behind that?
Okay.
Yeah, there is Gajendra Moksha prayers where Gajendra is offering prayers to the Lord. One more? Any example? Yeah, I mean, you're close, but yeah, to be more specific, Prahlad offers prayers to Narsinghadev. That's a very beautiful segment. And there is also a part from Dhruva, there is also a part from Bhishma, there is also a part from Kunti. So there are all these verses, like how each one beautifully glorifies the Lord. So we can just read through it, and whatever comes to our mind, we can just pray to that. So that's the first step. And the second thing is basically to thank the Lord. Of course, Lord has already given us a lot of things. To start with, He has given us this air, or to go a bit more deeper, He has given us healthy bodies. He has given us like a good eyesight to see things, like a healthy body to walk around, to do things. So, and then He has given us a good family, and then He has given us already a lot of things, but we have to just be more aware of what He has already given us. So we have to be thankful for what He has given us. So that's our second step, to thank Him that you have already given me so many things. And the third one is to basically to express what you are facing. As in, like here in this case, Brahma says that I am facing this anxiety, like I have this anxiety that I might lose myself in this process. So he expressed that comes from more awareness. It's not very generic. Like, it's not like, I want a good house. Like, if you start thinking deeper, start questioning, why do I want a good house? But if you start asking why, maybe you will end up with a thing that maybe I don't need a bigger house, I'm already satisfied with what I have. Then basically I was asking for something that I don't need at all. Maybe you could direct that energy to something, asking something that you actually need something. So it's like, asking, that's the third step, like asking, what you're feeling, to be more aware. Then the fourth one is actually what you require. That, maybe it could be a space that, my family is growing and I'm in a very, very small house, and it's very congested, and it's very hard to maintain a family, or it's very hard to give them good shelter, and to bring children in Krishna consciousness, in spiritual things. So maybe I need a bigger house to give them that facility, or maybe I need a car to go to different temples, or to do more spiritual activities. So basically the car is the end product. Like, we directly jump to saying, I need a car, but why do you need a car? One step back, ask that. So to be that more aware, that why do you actually need, and how it is contributing in your life to bring you closer to the Lord. So that is the actual awareness that you need to have. So these are the basic 4 steps. The first one, anyone can quickly recap? Glorifying the Lord. Second,
What we have. What we have.
being thankful to the Lord, to be already grateful that whatever He has given us. Third one, yeah, awareness of the needs. Why do we actually need? Like, what is the underlying emotion that is asking us to ask for? The fourth one is whatever you want to ask for. And the highest successful rate is basically for something more spiritual, that someone can ask for a guru, someone can ask for a good association of devotees, or maybe to get a temple, or to become, say, more courageous, so that I can execute, I don't know, I can host an event in my house, or I can speak Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita to someone else. uh, it could be something related, connected to Krishna. It need not be that, yeah, I just need an iPhone. Why do you need an iPhone? You can just have any normal simple phone. You don't need to have the latest iPhone Pro Max to whatever to do this. So of course you can still ask, and it's up to Krishna to give, to Vishnu to give that thing. But the highest successful rate you can see is when you ask for something spiritual that is trying to connect with the Lord. Like, say, for example, even if you don't have time to read Gita, but you have the desire to read Gita, so you can follow this 4-step process and ask Krishna or ask Vishnu that please free up my schedule, please unburden me of some things so that I have time to read Gita. Then you see naturally some things gets arranged miraculously, and then you get some time to read Gita. So that's the basic process of praying to someone. I mean, not someone, to Krishna. That anyone can practice this. So I would just like to end with just reading the last final segment of the translation. Vishnu says, it is the opinion of expert transcendentalists that the ultimate goal of performing all traditional good works, penances, sacrifices, charities, mystic activities, trances, etc., is to invoke my satisfaction. I am the super soul of every individual. I am the supreme director of the dearest. People are wrongly attached to the gross and subtle bodies, but they should be attached to me only. By following my instructions, Vishnu's instructions here, you can now generate the living entities as before by the dint of your complete Vedic wisdom and the body you have directly received from me, the supreme cause of everything. So that's how he ends his assurance that by how meditating on me and by doing this devotional service, how Brahma can still be protected from all these things that he was worried about. So that's my session for today. Thank you so much, Hare Krishna. And anyone has any thoughts, comments, questions, realizations? We can just take maybe for 5 minutes. I think I was a bit late today, but I wanted to complete this episode. So after this, then the Bhagavatam starts with the next chapter onwards on how Brahma creates this planetary systems, and the Vedic scriptures gives a different description than what we have studied in modern science. Modern science, we see the solar system, 7 planets, and all these things. Of course, that is still true, but it's on a very small level. But if you actually see on a very higher level, Bhagavatam describes there are 14 planetary systems, and who lives in all these planetary systems, and Earth belongs to the seventh in the middlemost Bhurloka, and there is Atala, Vitala, Sutala, Tala, Tala, Patala in the bottom, and then on the top you have Swarga, and all the way going to Satyaloka, where Brahma himself resides, and all these things. So all these more technical description comes in Bhagavatam, but this is just before creation, before starting with creation. So that was this whole episode. So yeah, any questions, thoughts, comments? Sorry?
car, house.
Yeah.
Yours is very easy.
Yeah.
Mercy is something that is not an easy task
Yeah.
receiving from the Lord. So will these tests be also received from mercy?
Yeah, that's what maybe that's why maybe Maitreya Muni also describes this in detail, because that's the whole episode how Brahma receives the mercy of the Lord. Like he was not already born and he was not already directly puffed up saying, yeah, now I have all the strength and knowledge, now I'll start creating. No, like even though he was so empowered, like we are speaking of Brahma here who created the whole universe, but still how he was anxious and he was doubtful of himself whether he would be able to do it, and how he asked mercy and empowerment from the Lord. And that's, I think that's basically the whole essence of this episode of why Maitreya Muni described all these things. Otherwise he could have directly started off, because Vidura asked how was this universe created by Brahma. He could have directly started, yeah, Brahma started with 14 planetary systems and blah blah blah, all these technical details. There was no need of this beautiful episode of the conversation between Brahma and Vishnu, the how he was in anxious and how he gave reassurance and all these things. I think maybe that's why I wanted to highlight this for this session instead of going into the technical details of the cosmic creation. Any other questions? Yeah.
But what has created so many universes? Is there a reason, or it's just his leela, or
Yeah, so many universes. He needs to accommodate so many souls. So I especially this whole material creation, which when I started with Mahavishnu breathing out the universes, all these universes are part of the material creation. And these material creation, it is said that is just 1/4 of the entire creation. So basically there is 3/4 of the creation which is in the spiritual world, which is basically the innumerable Vaikuntha planets and all the different Vaikuntha planets, and then there is one Goloka Vrindavan as well. But this 1/4 is the material creation is coming from Mahavishnu. So yeah, this is just to accommodate all the, I think so, to accommodate all the souls, so many jivas in this material creation. And yeah, these jivas wanted to be independent of the Lord to enjoy. So yeah, I think, yeah, that's how the capacity is created, I think. But still we can't put a number because we still say it's unlimited universes coming in, going out of Mahavishnu. So we can't still put a number as to why only this number. Anything else? There are some kids. What did you learn? I'm so sorry. I think it was a bit boring for the kids because the topic was a bit technical. I couldn't make it more kid friendly. But anything that you learned? Any simple thing?
Vishnu made the solar system.
Yeah, very good. And where was Brahma sitting? Brahma was seated on which flower?
A lotus.
On the lotus. Yes. Anything else you want to share that you remember or you found it interesting?
what?
Where is Vishnu sleeping? On whom? Bolo, bolo.
Krishna.
Yeah, Anantashesh. And here, what color was Anantashesh? No, but good try. I mentioned this. Or maybe I think you came a bit later, maybe.
Yellow color. It's kind of yellow.
No, yellow was the dhoti that he was wearing. Vishnu was wearing a yellow dhoti. But what was the color of Anantashesh? Yeah, it was white. He's a beautiful white snake with millions of hoods.
Yeah. In the picture, you saw, right?
Yeah, maybe I should have that picture as well. Let me try to see.